in the context of Advaita Vedanta also, I want to play like a little, it's like rapid fire where I'm going to give you a situation, a real life situation where someone's in, and you tell me like if someone knows their true identity or who am I, how do they react to that in the best way so they don't suffer. So, for example, I'm a student who's preparing for, let's say if you're in India, it's like the IAS exams, or in the US, Harvard, Ivy Leagues. And I've spent years and years preparing and putting my heart and soul. But maybe due to some luck, destiny, karma, whatever you call it, I don't get success. That causes failure, that causes depression, suicidal thoughts. That's the innate reaction I'm feeling. How do I use this knowledge to then solve my issue?
You immediately see that there is this negative reaction, unhappiness, a shock, misery. It appears like a wave. It's not that I am shocked or I am in deep misery or I am a failure, I am a loser, I am in deep depression. No, I feel that wave of negativity arising. I am that limitless awareness, like the blue sunlit sky in which a cloud has suddenly appeared. And it's not just being poetic or being rhetorical. You actually see it like that. So this wave of a negative reaction arises. The moment you see it as an object, an interesting thing happens. First of all, you see you are not it. You are not that negativity. You are not that depression. Nor are you depressed. If there is rainfall, everything will get wet. But space itself doesn't get wet. You know?
It's also temporary.
It's temporary and it doesn't affect the space itself. It can affect the air, it can affect the house or the trees, but space itself is not affected by heat, moisture, nothing. It just gives space for everything. Similarly, you are like that space, completely unaffected. Then when this arises in the mind, this cloud, the second thing that will happen is when you see yourself as a difference with that, that begins to subside much faster. You see, our negativities affect us much more when we are involved with it.
When you're attached to it.
Attached to it. We hug it to ourselves. It's strange. We hug our unhappiness to ourselves also by identifying, I am unhappy. This is a fact of my life. No, it isn't. Just a moment ago, you were not unhappy. The same consciousness which saw the relaxed and pleasant state of mind is now witnessing the absolute turmoil and distress of the mind. Then the turmoil and distress also go down. This is the next thing that will happen. And then it will disappear into that limitless awareness again from which it arose. And you know that you were that limitless, unaffected awareness earlier, during the turmoil, and now also after the turmoil. You are fine. The more you do this, the more the initial reaction also will be less. So when a shock comes, you see, you distance yourself from the negativities. But when you keep on doing that, the negativities themselves will they'll begin to diminish. The reactions will become less and less sharp and less troublesome. There'll be a general peacefulness, general luminosity in the mind all throughout.
And just one more situation now I would like to give you is that, let's say there's an individual, if they're, for example, a married couple, and through whatever life experiences they have to go through a divorce. Maybe it's destined to happen, it's karma, whatever you call it. Or if someone faces a heartbreak or betrayal in a relationship, someone they trust a lot. In that situation, that's even sometimes worse because it's relationships which, we know how it gets very hurtful and deep. So how do you react to that, especially when you know you're parting away from someone in that situation?
Negativities in human relationships of whatever kind, from the perspective of Vedanta, you know first and foremost, you and that other person, you are one reality. That other person is not different from you. The one consciousness which is there in this body and mind shining forth through this is exactly there in that other person also. That other person is not one bit different from you. Now, that person is behaving in a particular way. Suppose it's behaving in an unpleasant way, negative way. We can't handle that. It's because of the mask of the personality, of the mind, the conditioning of the mind, which Here also there is a conditioning of the mind. There also, every body mind has its own conditioning. So sometimes those conditionings have accumulated a lot of negativity over lifetimes. And that's why the behavior is like that. People ask, if everybody is that one Atman, or if God is in everybody, then why is one person evil? Why is another person lazy? Another person so good? How can it all be the same? It is. It's the same light when it streams through stained glass windows. Same light, sunlight coming, but from inside the hall, you will see different rays of light coming. Red and blue and all. Why? It's the same light, but it came through those stained glass windows, right? So similarly, the one consciousness which you are, with that person with whom you are having a conflict, that light coming through that particular mind is behaving in that way. Yeah. So that gives us a lot of sympathy for the other.
Understanding, basically.
Understanding, lot of sympathy. Will that solve the problem? Not necessarily. Our conditionings are very strong. So it's not so easy to change ourselves, imagine how difficult it is to change another person. But first of all, it will give you a lot of peace within, a lot of centeredness within. See, anger against somebody, it is unwise, because anger is like a fire. And a fire always burns the place where you light it. It can burn others, but first of all, it will burn the place where you light it. If I light the fire of anger in my heart, I am foolish, because the first person to get burned by that anger will be I. I am going to get affected first. So I will not be angry at anybody or anything. And with understanding, with sympathy, with this feeling of oneness, it affects the other person also. So in many difficult situations, you'll see the situation becomes a little less difficult. Is it a magic solution for everything? No, there's no magic solution for everything. But it's much better. First of all, you are the beneficiary. When you have this peaceful state of mind and this witness consciousness, you are the first beneficiary. But then the other person and the situation also becomes better. Notice, this is how life is. In Ashtavakra says, Mai ananta maham bodho Ascharyam jiva vichaya udyanti gnanti khelanti pravishanti swabhavata. In me, the limitless ocean of consciousness. How wonderful are these sentient beings, the jivas. Udyanti, they arise. Gnanti, khelanti, they play. Gnanti, they fight. Pravishanti, they disappear. They merge back into consciousness. Swabhavata, by their own nature. I remember this master who was teaching us this particular verse. This is exactly what you referred to. So the old Swami in Gangotri, he was saying, see, look at you around in life. People arise from their born, childhood, youth. Khelanti, they play. I love you. Gnanti, they fight. I will divorce. What you just said. And then they all disappear after some time, 30, 40, 50, 100 years later, they're all gone. More beings arise. But you have not come with those beings. You are not disappearing with those beings. You are this limitless consciousness in whom all of these things are appearing and disappearing. Imagine the calmness, the deep sympathy, the deep peace it gives you, even in times of trouble.
It's a very, very good explanation. I can say that because personally, I feel like I've just been able to actually learn more towards myself. I think for people watching, it would actually help them in real life.
I think so. It's people think Vedanta is philosophical, theoretical.
But whatever you said is just, this is reality.
It's reality. It's more real than anything else.